Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Between Innings. My name is Caleb. This week I have a special guest. We're joined by James from No Mercy Sports. James, how we doing?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Not too bad. Tell us about what you do, man.
Well, for starters, I'm enlisted into the United States Army. I just put on E5 recently. But when I'm not pounding my head because of the aggravating case that is the U.S. Army, I make sport videos with a channel called No Mercy Sports. It's the most unfiltered, uncut, and uncensored stuff you're going to find on social media. And whether it's baseball, football, basketball, no sport is safe. I don't hold anything back given my thoughts.
Well, first of all, we appreciate you for your service. Second of all, we definitely will come check you out. We've communicated a few times trying to correlate this.
Yes,
So
we did.
I'm glad to have you on. I definitely wanted to start out a little differently here. But there was an ending in the Guardians Yankees game today. And if you haven't seen it, we're going to take a look at it, and then James and I will react to it. Continue to throw stuff at him. And he's like, yeah, big guy, you want to talk tough to right there, throw stuff. I mean, unbelievable. Well, you got to walk away from it. You can't, I mean, you're going to have, they're going wild. You're right, it's terrible. Then you see a couple of those guys come in and say, enough. No way to end the day in a ball game. Well, the good news is there's enough video to find out who comes through. That is just repulsive. I remember a similar incident in Atlanta on a terrible call, not validating it, under the circumstances. What are your reactions to this?
Well, honestly, I really don't like stuff like that. And it just gives, diehard Yankees fans everywhere a bad name when they do that kind of stuff. I'm a Yankees fan, but if, something bad happens, hey, you just move on and you look forward to the next game. You don't just throw whatever you can find towards a player and all that other stuff. It really doesn't make any sense to me why they would do something like that. It just gives fans a bad name.
The crazy part is that was after a walk-off win.
Yeah.
Miles Straw, I think, is who was playing center field. Had misplayed a ball in center field.
Right.
And the Yankees had just won the game.
Yeah, I don't know why you would react like that to a walk-off win.
Yeah, it was definitely not something you see every day.
No.
Also, make sure you go follow us on the Facebook at Between Innings. Follow James and his team over at No Mercy Sports. Follow us on Twitter at Caleb Davis MLB, at Between Innings 2, at _ No Mercy Sports _ Mr. James.
Yes,
John
sir.
Means is having Tommy John this year. Does that?
Oh.
I don't know if you follow the Orioles or if you paid attention. When we talked about them last week, they have the 6th best ERA in baseball. I've caught some of their games this year. They are very young. They are very talented. That is going to push them back because that is their ace. How would you like to react to that?
Well, I mean, Tommy John surgery is definitely no joke. And anytime I'm listening to the radio and the Orioles come on, it's just nothing but bad things because all I've been hearing is they either they're probably tanking to just get better draft picks, much like the Miami Dolphins, or they're just like, they just don't want to compete, but I mean, when you're losing your ace to Tommy John surgery, that's definitely a big blow to the bullpen, especially when most of baseball is built around pitching. I mean, if you got a good bullpen, odds are you're going to have a great year.
I find that funny, not only are they, like I said, they're losing their ace and they're so young, so they're already in rebuild mode. But I don't know if they're full on tanking because if they can find a way to hit, they are going to be competitive even in that tough AL East.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of hitters, we have our hitter of the week, and he's from your area. It's the Texas Rangers. Nate Lowe had a 500 average this week, 12 hits, 1 home run, 2 walks, 3 RBIs this week. Do you watch Rangers games at all?
No, I don't. I tried to stick with watching the Yankees and the Chicago Cubs, but I mean, those kind of numbers are impressive, especially this early in the season.
And I saw a stat the other day. They have the worst record in the American League. So,
Oof.
and my pitcher of the week, Justin Verlander, who had 2 starts this week, 14 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 13 strikeouts, 1 walk. He pitched 6 innings between the 2020 and 2021 season, coming back from Tommy John surgery. Is that impressive to you? I watched it. He looks like the very normal, back to normal Justin Verlander.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not that. That's definitely impressive. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the league by far. If I had to put a list together, I'd probably have Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander at a close number 2. But Verlander putting up those kind of numbers doesn't surprise me. This guy just wheels and deals.
And he's 38, and he's still throwing 99 miles an hour.
That's the craziest part. The fact that this guy could be the next Nolan Ryan for all we know. The fact that he's up there in that kind of age and throwing that kind of heat. And
if you've watched him, he always gets stronger the more he throws in the game. So unlike other pitchers where his velo goes down, I've seen him 100 pitches in the 8th inning where he's still throwing 99 or 100 miles an hour. So
that's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Now to the laughingstock of the Major League. While their team is competitive, their owner is not. The Oakland A's had a home game this week where their attendance was 3,748 people. Here's the best part. Their AAA team had a game the same night. Their attendance was 5,607. On a scale from Oakland to Vegas, how close are the A's to moving to Vegas? We kind of touched on this last week. These are just ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you got a ballpark that big. I get it. It's during the week. Most people are going to be working and all that other stuff. But, I mean, when you got a ballpark that big, there's got to be people in that area that really aren't doing anything and just think to themselves, hey, you know what? Let's go to an Oakland A's game. Baseball season is back. So why not? What better way to spend an afternoon than going to see the Oakland A's?
It's not like there's anything else to do. The Warriors moved to San Francisco. You don't have the Raiders anymore. It's not football season anyways.
Yep.
But
still, when you got a ballpark that big and you have that kind of attendance, that's just pretty embarrassing, if you ask me.
You mentioned the Cubs. Yadi Molina this week has 150 career shutout, which passed Gary Carter for the most all time. How impressed are you? We already know Molina's going to the Hall of Fame when he retires.
Oh, without question. Yeah. That's actually pretty impressive. This guy's been around, and, I mean, as far as pickoff catcher, you can count on me staying on first and not trying to steal second. This guy has got an absolute cannon, and he's just deadly when he's picking base runners off that are trying to steal.
And he does it from his knees so easily.
He's got a great jump too, if you ask me.
Absolutely, and he'll even don't go nap on first either. Okay.
Yep.
He'll pick you off there. There was a report this week that MLB expansion is likely to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. A group led by 3-time World Series champ Dave Stewart has prepared a $2 billion bid for an expansion team in Nashville. He would be the first minority owner in MLB. These are Dave Stewart's MLB credentials: 168 and 129, a 3.95 ERA, 1,741 strikeouts. Played for the Dodgers, Texas, Phillies, and Toronto. He was an All-Star in '89, 3-time World Series champ, twice in Oakland, once in Toronto. The MVP of the World Series in 1989, 2-time ALCS MVP. All-Star Clemente Award winner in '90, led the American League in wins in '87, threw a no-hitter in the '90s, and is in the A's Hall of Fame.
Wow, those are very impressive numbers right there.
Would you be excited to see a team in Nashville?
Oh, absolutely. I'd be excited to see a team in Nashville. I mean, we got all these great teams, but I think seeing another team in baseball to make, what is it, 31 teams or 33?
31. That would be 31.
31. Okay. Well, yeah, it'd just be really exciting because we have two. I mean, going to hockey, we have two expansion teams, being the Knights and Seattle Kraken, and they're just so much fun. They're both so much fun to watch.
I love
I think
watching
another
that.
baseball. Yeah, absolutely. So
I
I think
love
another baseball team, I think, would be a good thing to see.
So I have ruled out Vegas as an expansion team, and here's why. I think Oakland's going to move to Vegas, so that'll take Vegas out. Nashville, and I'd love to see the Expos back in Montreal. If I had to pick, that'd be the perfect, and then that'd bring the league to 32 teams.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see the Expos come back too.
Here is the big news of the week. Miguel Cabrera hit number 3,000 today. He is the 33rd player. Exactly. Congrats, Miguel Cabrera. He is the 33rd player in MLB history to hit 3,000. He is the 7th player to have 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. He is the first Venezuelan-born player to hit 3,000.
Wow.
Before we talk about Miguel Cabrera, I want to talk about your Yankees again.
Yeah.
Because on Thursday, it was second and third. I want to say it was the 8th inning. 1 out, and they intentionally walked him. Under any other circumstance, that is you understand the way that is. But with him having 2,999 hits, that became a controversy. I'm no supporter of the Yankees, but in any other game played that day, that's a smart move. So I'm not knocking the Yankees for that because that is strategic baseball that everybody wants to see. But with the milestone being what it was, it became the center of unnecessary controversy.
Right. One thing I saw, it was a meme. I don't know if it's like 100% true, but it was a quote from Aaron Boone saying, "Hey, you cost me a World Series in 03, so sucks to suck."
As well.
I got a good laugh out of it, but at the same time, it's like this guy's one hit away from career 3,000. So I get the controversy, but at the same time, it is what it is.
And speaking of crazy stats involving Miguel Cabrera, there was a stat that came out, I want to say it was that same day, that Thursday. Miguel Cabrera, 2,999 hits. The other 8 starters in the Tigers lineup that day, 3,012 hits. I remember that pesky little Miguel Cabrera in Florida early in his career, being a Braves fan.
Yep.
He can always hit.
Yeah.
And you watch him now, he has that same stroke. He can take the ball the other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just look and it's fun to watch because I don't know how many more of these. If I have to ask you to give me one player who you think's going to hit 3,000, who would you say?
Oof, I don't even know. I mean, I'd really have to look at some of the rosters and see, who looks like they could have 3,000 career hits.
If I have to pick a player like projecting, to me, it's going to be somebody like Juan Soto. I saw this week he got his 500th career hit. But it's going to be somebody like that that has played discipline, and people are not afraid to swing and miss anymore.
Right.
Let's see. Robinson Cano is at 26-30. Yachty's at 21-16. Joey Votto has just over 2,000. Nelson Cruz is under 2,000. Jose Altuve has 1,783. Freddie Freeman.
What about Anthony Rizzo? I think he's someone that I could see having 3,000 career hits.
1,383 hits.
Not bad.
I'm just like I said. If it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be somebody like a Juan Soto, somebody with very good plate discipline.
Absolutely.
I'm not even sure. I'm trying to find if Mike Trout's at 14-28, and I'm not even sure if he can do it. Just because as great as a ball player as he is, I really don't think he could have 3,000 career hits. But I mean, if he gets a hot streak going, hey, more power to him. Well, Mr. James, we're going to move on to our power rankings. And the 10th spot this week, we have the St. Louis Cardinals. They weren't ranked in our power rankings last week. They're currently leading the NL Central. Nolan Arenado is finally finding his swing, and they have a lineup around him and a solid pitching staff. Do you have any thoughts on the Cardinals?
I mean, honestly, they're always a team that you shouldn't sleep on. And on top of that, they're usually a team, much like most big clubhouses, that have a pretty slow start in the beginning. But once the weather starts warming up, they start finding some traction under their feet. And they just put the pedal to the metal and put the league on notice, like why they have 10 World Series wins and why they are who they are.
Yeah, they what was it, 22 in a row last year to make the playoffs? Isn't that something ridiculous like that they won in the September where they had no business making the playoffs?
Yeah, I believe so.
Next, we have the Seattle Mariners. They took 2 of 3 from Houston last week. Over the weekend, they visited Texas. This is a team that spent money this offseason. It finally seems like maybe they're starting to play some good baseball out west. I think Robbie Ray struggled this week, but they're very young.
Oh, yeah.
Their key players are very young, which means this team is set up to play well in the next couple of years. We were talking before we got on here. They're the only team since 2010 to not make the playoffs.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with what you said. They have a really good young team put together, and they should be set up for years to come. Good luck, Seattle.
And that AL West is going to be fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of the AL West, we have another team that wasn't in our top 10 last week. The Los Angeles Angels seem to have finally figured out some pitching. Ohtani pitched against Texas this week and had 5 perfect innings and hit a home run.
Yeah.
Syndergaard, I think, has pitched really well out there. It seems like maybe this could be the year. I was listening to a podcast the other day. The Angels haven't been above 500 since 2015.
Wow.
And that kind of caught me by surprise. Any thoughts on the Angels?
The Angels, they're always a difficult ball club to figure out because they all, like you said, since 2015, they've been lucky to even finish at 500. I mean, especially with having arguably the best player in baseball right now being Mike Trout.
If not,
they're just a hard team to really figure out.
Even if you say the best 2 with him and Ohtani.
Absolutely.
But that shows you baseball is not like basketball. It's not like football. The best 2 players are not going to win you the game.
Exactly. I mean, I get it. Ohtani is a great two-way player. I mean, one game you'll have him getting, 10 strikeouts, and then the next he'll have a home run or 2 as a DH. But like you said, whether you have 2 great players, it's still not going to make a difference.
You still have 7 other players that have to produce.
Exactly.
Well, we've made it to those pesky A's in the AL West. Wow, they snuck the first game against Toronto, then lost the next 2. Over the weekend, they beat Baltimore. So they handled business this week, even without a crowd. They're going to make life miserable in that American League West.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand how the A's do this, but they do. They are always around. I was talking to a guy who helps covers the Texas Rangers for Fanside. We were talking. He goes, the A's can win 100 games, and none of us would be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just what they do.
Yep.
Up next is the Cleveland Guardians, who had a hell of a week this week. They took 3 of 4 from the White Sox. They outscored the White Sox 19-5.
That was just crazy.
Jose Ramirez became the first player in franchise history to hit 2 grand slams in the first team in the first 10 games. Franmil Reyes' bat finally seems like they're coming around. Looks like they've dropped 2 of the first 3 to the Yankees, but they can pitch and they can hit, and they will be a problem. I don't know if I thought they were going to start out this well. I figured the series against the against the White Sox would kind of bring them back to earth, but now it seems like the White Sox have fallen off. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
these
and they're supposed to be heavy favorites in the AL Central too, especially with the players that they have.
Yeah, I mean, and it just seems like Cleveland just like I was trying to tell everybody, Shane Beamer is still on that pitching staff.
Ooh.
So don't be surprised if they can pitch. If you
Yeah.
look right now, the White Sox are fourth in the division at 6-8.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Cleveland Guardians, they're pretty much like the Oakland A's. They're that team that just sticks around, and no matter how much you try to get rid of them, they're still going to be there and still find a way to win.
absolutely. Up next comes the biggest surprise on this whole list. The Rockies. How now they've fallen a little bit, but they are still on our list. They haven't lost a series yet this year.
Hmm.
They've lost series outright. CJ Cron has 6 home runs this year. They still don't have an ace. Now, they re-signed Kyle Freeland this week. Herman Marquez is not the same pitcher he was last year. The Rockies need some pitching help. But tell me on your scale how surprised you are that the Rockies are doing well. They got shut out 13-0 in the first game, and as I have it on right now, they're up 3-0 in the top of the 7th and game 2 of the doubleheader today.
Yeah, the Rockies are actually pretty surprising, especially with the fact that they signed Chris Bryant. I saw him when he was a Chicago Cub, and he just was doing amazing things for that ball club. So I'm surprised, but also not surprised at the kind of things that the Rockies are doing, especially with Chris Bryant in their lineup.
We talked about it last week. He has lit some kind of fire in that clubhouse. I don't know if you're going to be able to sustain that, but, they're there, and we're going to acknowledge it for now.
Oh, absolutely.
Number four is another team in the NL West. That is going to be the San Diego Padres. They split the series with the Braves over the weekend. They swept the Reds, so they did what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they pitch and they play defense, and they have done all this without Fernando Tatis.
Wow.
I'm looking here. It's just the pitching has continued to impress.
Yeah, no, they've got a great bullpen. And, if they can keep this kind of momentum going, they can definitely give the Dodgers and possibly the Giants a run for their money, because even last year we saw the Dodgers and Giants battle it out for the best record, not only in baseball, but in the NL West as well.
Absolutely. Up next, we have the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays entered Saturday 9-5. They won today against the Astros again. Took 2 of 3 from Boston. Kevin Biggio is embracing that utility role now. They're doing this without Teoscar Hernandez, who got hurt, who looks like he could be back the series against Boston this week. Have you got to watch any of the Blue Jays, and what has impressed you so far?
I haven't been able to watch the Blue Jays, but the one thing that just really impresses me about that team is the amount of legacies that they have. We got Vladdy Guerrero Jr., we got Kevin Biggio, and what's his
Bo
name?
Bichette.
Bo Bichette, thank you. And I think a cousin of George Springer, or brother maybe?
I know
there's a Springer on that team. I know that.
Okay, and they also have Gurriel, whose brother plays in Houston.
Okay.
There's some talented families on that team.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really impresses me. I mean, so many young guys, and that team is really set up for the future.
Vladimir Guerrero also almost won the Triple Crown last year. And I was watching the game today, and I'm going to double-check my stats before I say this out loud. But if you look right now, Vladimir Guerrero has a 333 batting average. So he's continuing to hit. He's playing first base.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing a good first base.
Oh, yeah.
That's another team that's young that I think is going to win the AL East this year.
Yeah, they're definitely in the running. I'd honestly give it to the Yankees, just being a fan, the Blue Jays, and the Rays. Like, all three great teams can make a serious run at winning the AL East this year.
Well, number 2, while this is a jump from last week, I don't know if anybody's actually surprised. Those damn Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Those damn Dodgers took 2 of 3 from the Braves. They took the first game against San Diego last night. It was really weird as a Braves fan watching Kenley Jansen pitch to Freddie Freeman. But is anybody surprised that the Dodgers have figured it out after losing the first 2 of 3 to Colorado?
I'm not surprised.
No, they plus 17 a run differential.
Mm-hmm.
This is just what the Dodgers do.
Yeah, they always have a great team put together, but I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but I mean,
be that guy. Be that guy.
You know what? I am that guy because that's what my channel's all about. They have a great team put together, but year after year, leaving out 2020, they always make the playoffs with a great record and choke.
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The one thing that I think that impressed me about the Dodgers is they always go win 100 games, and they always have a top 7 farm system.
Yep.
And they will go spend any amount of prospects to go get whatever guy they want.
Yep.
So that's the one thing the Dodgers, you can't say the Dodgers ever phone it in.
No, they always have a great team put together, but they just cannot get it done in the playoffs. So it's still no surprise.
That one season.
Yep. Again, it's still no surprise that they're off to this kind of start, but watch out for the playoffs because that is their kryptonite.
If you look at their dominance of the West, I think most people will be surprised they only have one World Series.
Yeah, especially I think since 2012, they've won the NL West constantly, but they just failed to get it done.
All right. Well, number 1 is going to hurt your heart because it's your favorite team. It's the New York Mets. What they're doing pitching-wise is ridiculous.
It is.
Jacob deGrom, I think, is out until, if I'm looking correctly, according to MLB, late May. Francisco Lindor is finally hitting. Pete Alonso's hitting. They took 3 or 4 up from the Giants this week. Jesus. I watched most of those games. That was a great series. They've had some bullpen woes late in games, but they've still been able to come back and win.
It doesn't really surprise me. And I think dating back to 2017, I've always seen them get off to a hot start, whether like first 20, 25 games into the season, and then just after that, hey, Mets gonna Met, and they just finish either third place in the standings, or they just completely choke and finish last. Well, they always get off to a great start, but
that's the one thing
as the season progresses, they just blow it.
That's the one thing that I'm weary of with the Mets is, they spent 100-plus days in first place last year. They were the first team in MLB history to spend 100-plus days in first place and finish with a losing record.
Choke it away.
So while this is impressive what they're doing in April, if they're still doing it in July and August, I will be just amazed if they still sit atop our power rankings.
We will see come the dog days of summer. So,
well, we went over our top 10. Is there anybody that's not in our top 10 that you felt like should have been?
Honestly, no one I can really think of right now. I mean, the top 10 looks great, and I mean, the top 3 really don't surprise me. Toronto just doing what they're doing, and it's really tough to argue against it because it's a good top 10, and most of these teams just have a great young team put together. But once, like you said, July, August rolls around, we'll see where they stand soon enough.
Well, we have now made it to what we're going to look forward to this week. My normal co-host, Mr. Commissioner Scott Cole, is what he's known at over here, couldn't be with us tonight. His early week series to watch was Boston at Toronto. Like we were talking about these teams. The American League East is going to be fun to watch all year. Your Yankees are in there, so you're going to have a lot of heartbreak. I hate to break that to you. So he's all over this American League East matchup. What is your matchup to watch early in the week?
Honestly, I would have to say Houston versus Texas. We got a battle of the Lone Star State, and on top of that, both teams, if I'm not mistaken, are in the AL West, so they're going to want to look to Texas is going to want to look to make a statement against Houston and try to be like, hey, we run Texas. not you guys. So you might want to put your trash can away, and you're not going to cheat against us.
Well, it's funny that we talk about Texas. They spend all this money in the off season, and yesterday I thought, and it may still be the same. They have the worst record in the American League.
Mm.
I'm going to hurt your heart again and talk about the trash cans. Yankees were denied their appeal to get that letter, the letter closed, to keep the letter closed. So be looking out for the Yankees cheating scandal. That's going to be coming soon.
My early week, I ain't even going to lie.
My early week series is Oakland at San Francisco. We talked about Oakland and their young team, and they're very pesky. I feel like this is a series that San Francisco should be able to win fairly easy. I think they're doing 2-2, so 2 in Oakland and 2 in San Francisco. So I'll be interested to see, if the Giants can gain ground here, or if Oakland is just going to continue to be that pesky team that nobody wants to play.
Right.
For our late week series, Mr. Cole mentioned Minnesota and Tampa Bay, and his early season projections. Tampa Bay was not going to be in the playoffs. They sit at 7-7 right now. They haven't been completely, they haven't looked like they did last year. So he's tooting his own horn, saying it looks like I was right about Tampa Bay, but we were looking over some things. 162 and 17 are different. So we'll see if Tampa Bay can rebound, because that AL East, you're going to need, I think, 95 plus wins to win that division.
Mm-hmm.
Because even Baltimore is going to be pesky in that division because they can pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was your late weekend? What was your weekend series to watch?
I'm going to have to go with the Philadelphia Phillies versus the New York Mets. Granted, the Mets are off to a fast start right now, pedal to the metal. But with the lineup that the Phillies have, Bryce Harper, Didi Gregorius, so on and so forth, they're going to want to look to come after them and show why they are going to be a serious contender in the NL East.
Well, you got to play defense to do that. I don't think Philadelphia can do that.
Very true. That you do.
My late week series was Cincinnati at Colorado. We talked about Colorado getting off to the hot start. San Diego just swept Cincinnati. Is Colorado going to continue to build off this momentum?
If they keep playing the way they're playing, they could very well ride a very good wave of momentum. Maybe into the playoffs. Who knows?
If your name's not Kyle Freeland, that pitching rotation has looked really good this year.
Yeah, we'll have to see as the season progresses. Early on, it's always, hey, does this team have a shot? Does this team have a shot? But at the same time,
everybody has a shot on day one.
Oh, absolutely. But as the season progresses and we get into the dog days, that's when the real contenders come out and we see who the pretenders are.
Well, they definitely need some pitching. And like I said, as I sit right now with it in front of me, their bullpen is looking really good too. Well, this wraps up our show for this week. James, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It was great to come on.
You're more than welcome to come back whenever you'd like. Make sure you go follow him at No Mercy Sports over on Facebook, _No Mercy Sports _ on Twitter. Anything else you want to get out before we get out?
Hey, we just better buckle down, hold on to our hats, and get ready for a crazy season because, like I said, as it progresses, we will see who the contenders and who the pretenders are.
How do you feel about your Yankees so far?
I'm feeling pretty good. We got Isaiah Kiner Falefa, or as my wife likes to call him, Isaiah Kiner Falafel.
Yep, Falafel.
So, and then on top of that, we got a great veteran being Josh Donaldson. We also have a great first baseman being Anthony Rizzo. So, I'm always excited. And on top of that, to see what Judge and Stanton are going to do. So we shall see.
I just don't know who's going to pitch for the Yankees. That's all I want to know. Because Garrett Cole hasn't been very Garrett Cole-ish this year.
My money, I'm watching Nasty Nestor Cortez.
I watched his start against Baltimore on Sunday.
Oh, where he had 12 strikeouts.
Yes.
Yep. That
Bro was
pissed
nasty.
me off. 12 strikeouts, and we lost the game still.
The only thing that I worry about is that I was watching it on the Baltimore side of it. I wasn't watching the Yankees broadcast. And they were talking about if you watch Nestor Cortez, he doesn't seem to like to go inside. I don't know if that was just a game plan against Baltimore or if he's just comfortable pitching the arm side all the time. But I'm interested to see if he's going to make that adjustment to pitch more inside. He's going to have to. Because otherwise, everybody's going to be like Anthony Rizzo and stand over the top of the plate and just shoot that ball the other way.
Yep. They're either going to get a ball right down the line or just send it out of the park.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. We will be back next Saturday. Make sure you go follow James on all his platforms. We guys will see you next week.